Hey there, and welcome to Swiss Round 3 of the Lali-Ho League. We have a race tonight between two runners who have one win apiece, Dnarii and Gaming with a Wraith. This is going to be a really exciting one. My name is Sheep Launcher. I'm here up in the booth with Antidale. And Antidale, this is a really pivotal match for both runners. They each have one win. They know what it feels like. A win won't advance them, a loss won't eliminate them, but 2-1 feels a lot different than 1-2.
It does. You're with a win here, runners feel way more comfortable. With a loss, they are now on the brink of elimination and starting to feel very, very nervous. Really, none of the pools that you could get thrown into are going to feel very comfortable for continuing to get wins. So you definitely want to have as many in the bank as you can possibly have.
Yeah, and Dnarii and Gaming with a Wraith, both looking for that pivotal second win. Gaming with the Wraith is a veteran, has been in several of these tournaments. Dnarii, I believe, is in his first FE tournament, but he's an experienced streamer and speedrunner, so this should be a really good one. And taking a look at these objectives, have to do 4 of the 5, of course. The top 3 are every single Lali-Ho League race. The 4th, defeat King and Queen Evelyn. The 5th, get Cecil, who has proven himself really helpful in these flags. So our runners, I think, will be happy to see those objectives.
Yeah, I definitely love seeing it get Cecil, since we're either going to have to forge or trade it to the Pinktail. And with Excal, Crystal Sword, and Avenger all in that Pinktail pool, you're pretty happy to have a Cecil or multiple Cecils on your side for this flag set, because you're very, very likely to at least walk away from every seed with an Excalibur.
Very much so, and we've seen in these flags how strong a Crystal Sword Cecil could be. So if our runners weren't on the hunt for a Cecil before, seeing that he's an objective, they'd want to get those character checks as quickly as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've definitely seen a lot in this flag set is with these character hunts is things like Tower of Zot and Dwarf Castle checks being bumped way up in runners' priorities, so that they're able to do those like character checks, get those boss checks too. So it's a lot different than Demon Zone, where we're very focused on specific locations to go to because the seed would tell us where to go. Here, there's a lot more of find this person or find this boss. So they can be pretty much anywhere. There's a lot more, cool, let me go find as many bosses as I possibly can, or let me check all the character spots as soon as I can, rather than kind of delaying those slower checks.
Very much so. Mount Ordeals pretty much required. There are 3 bosses up there. We've seen, as you said, a huge increase in focus in Dwarf Castle and Baron Castle, where you have key item checks combined with character checks combined with boss hunts. So this seed looks to get off to a fast start. We have a Quake kit to start with.
Yeah, Palom really nice early. Sometimes we'll see him kind of drop off a little bit. We do have another flag that we haven't turned on in a tournament before, which is the no boost for XP, or no catch-up experience, effectively. So that there's no hey, you're more than 5 levels behind the median, you get double XP. So they're not going to see any slingshots anymore, and it's just a little bit harder to get all the way to. Hey, that's a Crystal Sword. How do you feel about Crystal Sword, Sheep Launcher?
I feel great about Crystal Swords, especially since we have a Cecil somewhere in the seed. We're guaranteed it. Plus a Tella as our second character. Really useful early on because Tella starts with the exit spell. Tella also starts with the blink spell. We are off and running.
Absolutely. Now, how do you feel about Tella throughout the entire seed, Sheep Launcher? I know that people's feelings have changed a little bit since Zima Zone 3.
That's true. In Zima Zone 3, there were some calls to nerf Tella, which is kind of amusing because he is a source of weak, and the Zima Zone 3 featured the D Machine grind as kind of the preferred grind option. Here, both because Sirens are pretty readily available and because the Vanilla Giant flag is on, which means once you go into the Giant, the only way out is to defeat the 2 bosses at the Vanilla Elements and CPU spot. We've seen the we've seen that grind kind of fall out of favor, and with that, the old man as well.
I've only seen runners walk into the giant when they are pretty much forced to by knowing that one of their objectives has to be behind there because of either boss or character hunts. I've seen a couple of nice things out of this Eblin or this Baron loot here. I think it was a ninja hat very early, which I'm always thrilled to see with extra agility on my characters. We did also see Edward having a little bit of tea with Bigan. I guess Eddie just doesn't have that sense of smell that Palom does to smell the monster.
Dnarii going into the watery pass where the loot is just a little bit better, and in fact finds an Ice Claw, which has its uses if there's a Young or an Edge around, and a Siren early on. Can really help, especially with this Palom, get him some quick levels to get up to Quake very quickly.
Yeah, and I really like a nice Evelyn loot, or not Evelyn, but Watery Pass loot here with Tella as a start. You can even consider going all the way through to the back and then just resetting or just exiting back out. Also sets you up really well to go check the character in the bed here in Kaipo, which is a very heads-up play when runners are doing it and they have a character hunt, because that lets you know how important that standard beam might be.
Yes, it's good to have that information early. Kaipo, a little bit of a walk out of the way, but there's a shop there. There's a couple treasure chests that you kind of trip over, so it's certainly worth the steps.
Yeah, that information can be really useful. Nothing great shakes here that I'm seeing so far. Oh, there's a cursed ring. Very, very happy, I'm sure Gaming with a Wraith is to see that cursed ring in the Damsian basement. Will have no worries about keeping Tella around and letting him get all sorts of levels, because the cursed ring makes him a great anchor at the end of the game.
Also a kamikaze right next to it, a very useful item to have one or two of in your back pocket. If nothing else, it makes the sealed cave or the Cave Magnus fights a little bit quicker.
I know I saw Silver Staff that Dnarii just looted too, that I'm sure Gaming with Wraith did. With that scene Neki flag, where characters aren't coming pre-magnetized mostly, where you have far fewer iron rings in your inventory, or iron gauntlets, or all sorts of things that easily magnetize you. It's a little bit harder to get that quick perished flag or perished sign out of Cave Magnus when you go in there. So it's really nice to be able to pick up that sort of thing, and that kamikaze that you mentioned.
Gaming with the Wraith climbs Mount Hobbs, finds Rydia there, squaring off against the Dark Elf, and decides to take this fight on. Rydia early could have her uses, especially if there's a decent summon on the other side of Mount Hobbs, where in the vanilla game, Rydia learns Fire 1, instead is replaced with a random lower tier summon, but that could still have some nice summons possible, such as Sylph or Titan.
I'm half tempted to do this fight just to get Palom some level 2 spells, but I'm probably more interested in seeing that fight. When I see that fight, just to go into Antlion Cave, should be a little bit of an easier first fight. Maybe you could do a little more looting and find a J item or two to toss at that fight, instead of dealing with what's got to be a kind of obnoxious first half of the fight there with Dark Elf, giving you those multi level 2 spells, pigging your pretty hopefully not piggy party. This is not a fun fight early.
No, and Gaming with the Wraith decides against it for now. Even though the magic power here isn't especially high, level 2 spells are still level 2 spells.
And Dark Elf is pretty fast. This is a pretty slow party overall. It's just going to take a lot of time. There's not a whole lot of actual damage for this party. I would be very tempted to go and try and find a Dancing Dagger for Palom to wield, actually.
Gaming with the Wraith goes into the single treasure chest room in Antlion Cave, finds a tiara, a very nice piece of headgear for that Rydia or for another female character that he comes upon.
Yeah, it's I think plus 15 to the Black Magic stat. Great defense, gives you Dragon defense as well. Definitely a top piece of gear for any of the women characters in the seed that you have access to.
Dnarii, following Gaming with the Wraith's lead, decides against following through on the Dark Elf fight and instead goes into the Antlion Cave hoping to find somebody his own size.
You know, my favorite cheeky use of a tiara is
What's that?
you get to pour him early and using twin magic, because she'll get such a good black magic boost out of it that you don't actually need to worry about what twin is casting it, and you get such good damage out of that.
And that's very nice. Gaming with the Wraith finds the elements, all of them, lurking at the bottom of the Antlion Cave. Gonna go for Reflect strats to keep the elements in this Mylon phase, and Cure 2 and Fire 1 takes care of it.
We get a firebomb from Dnarii, both runners dealing with that fight pretty much at the exact same time, and get some Artemis arrows, which have a really nice attack power. And Dark Elf does turn into a dragon at the end, so if you're willing to go back to that fight, the second half is going to be much faster the second time around.
Very much so, and I didn't see specifically, but I assume that Palom got at least one level 2 spell.
Actually, I think you might not have, because of you only get half the experience there. I don't think there were any levels.
That's true. There's a reason why I didn't see it then.
Yeah, I know I wasn't paying attention, but it's entirely plausible that it did not happen. Ooh, an Elven Bow too. I would be very tempted to sell a bunch of rune rings, because we do have a bunch of rune rings in our starter kits, to buy an Elven Bow. And then Elven Bow, Artie, Arrows, Palom can do some pretty good work against that Dark Elf.
Very much so. Dnarii heading over to Fabul while Gaming with the Wraith is doing some boss checks, going to check out who's in this mist cave.
I don't hate this when you're trying to get the experience to get a level 2 spell on Palom. This is a really easy boss to fight, and might get you the leg up that you need. CPU is a little gross though. Not awful, but not the fight I really want to take.
No, CPU is going to be slow no matter where you encounter it. And a Sparkle invading Fabul Castle, it's the Nope Rope.
Yeah, this is no fun either. This is definitely one of those starts of a seed that makes you feel very behind, just because you're kind of bouncing off stuff, knowing that each fight is going to be very slow, and you're probably going to do some extra looting, I would imagine, just to punch through and get a little bit of a foothold on the seed.
Yeah, both runners just trying to find something that will enable them to break on through. Gaming with the Wraith heading over to Troya to do some more looting.
Yeah, I definitely like a little extra loot for this party. Just getting anything to kind of let you get started. That black belt picked up out of the pot is a nice thing. Ogrex will be nice later if we find that Cecil pretty early before we find anything else. The illusion is also a good pickup, although Tella does come with Blink like you mentioned earlier, so not quite as necessary. But we definitely just need to find another boss we can beat that isn't too long.
I do like how you say the Ogre Axe will be helpful for Cecil's if we don't have a Crystal Sword.
Oh right, forgot about that. Ogrex will be great if we find a Sid.
Yeah. Yeah, also could be a pile of money. And Cure 3s in the Troya Bar Shop. Picking up some bombs as well. Some nice J items will help things along.
Yeah, you know, with those bombs and Thor Rages, and just how little traction you have in the seed, I would not be against going up ordeals and just farming some random encounters with them. With that Palom, get Palom up to Virus, and then just walk over the early game.
Yeah, that's why Palom is so valuable to runners. Is his black magic spell growth is very quick. He gets to Virus very early, he gets to Quake very early, which is why he's called Quake Kid. Gaming with the Wraith and Dnarii just know that they need to get a few levels on Palom, and then the early game becomes a little trivial.
And Gaming with the Wraith loading up that Palom with a mute knife and then a ninja hat and a black belt, turning him into as much as he can a little bit of a fighter. Did not, I think, go find that Elven Bow out of Mist, or at least didn't pick it up. So is not quite as powerful as he could be, but was giving us a second go around, and hopefully this works out a little bit better.
Dnarii through that Ogopogo and does get some level 2 spells on his Palom.
Yeah, that's got to feel good, getting rid of Ogopogo there, having to chew through all that HP, but finally getting through it, not having to reset, and getting those level 2 spells, and just giving you that foothold. And that's a pan, so that's pretty nice to pick up.
Very nice. As soon as Dnarii has underground access, he knows he has 3 key item checks, knows that it'll be nice just to have to visit Fabul twice. So that's got to be a huge sigh of relief, and Dnarii's on his way.
And I'm definitely happier visiting the Castle of Fabul twice and not having to go down and walk the entire length of Self Cave twice. So definitely don't hate seeing that at this location.
Dnarii picking up some mute arrows, very helpful against any rune mage type bosses.
Yeah, love getting that 4x multiplier against the Sura or the Mega Sisters, and also on those bad ogres that we often see people take if we happen to have a hook route and need a little extra experience points. Also, an archer bow is a pretty solid bow for the overworld. Not quite as accurate or as good as the elven bow that we saw earlier in a shop, but archer will definitely do you enough good. But Gaming with Wraith has transformed that Dark Elf. Unfortunately, Tella is piggied, so can't cast Stop on it. So this will be a little bit awkward, but I think those are Artie arrows on that bow that Palom has for Gaming with the Wraith, because that was a 400-point hit.
Yeah, that was a nice hit, and with Tella unable to cast Stop, it's a race against this punchy dragon form, but Gaming with the Wraith is through.
Yeah, those level 2 spells not for his Palom as well. We might see the backside of Hobbs looted too, since we do have a Tella. And Tella should be able to unpiggy himself, or someone can unpiggy Tella, hopefully.
Palom just learned Piggy, so there's another curse ring.
It's deciding that that curse ring is enough, don't need to go back and loot, and want a menu to unpiggy Tella. Probably will just go straight to Fabul because you get a free heal there, and everyone will be restored to normal status.
He might check the summon on Hobbs, and he is.
Yeah, that's another good reason to not go through the back, since Rydia will clear out this spot.
Just a mage summon, not really useful.
Yeah, a bit of a womp. No one is super thrilled to see mage. We generally are looking for like Titan or Jin or Asura or Sylph out of here. So it exists. I think it has a use or two, but is not what you're really hoping to get.
Do you have a favorite niche mage strat?
I don't.
The mage is worse than the Tiara. You heard it here. And Gaming with the Wraith going up ordeals instead of stopping in Fabul first. An interesting play.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of runners taking kind of backburning Fabul to do that whole I want to only go there once check. Sometimes it works out really well. Sometimes, and it really depends on the party composition. If you have the actual damage to punch through and not worry about it, then because you get about 5,000 experience points for doing Fabul, which can be a pretty good boost to your entire team. But if you have a strong team, then you're fine just going straight up the mountain here to Mount Ordeals, getting Tella online, who will be a much more useful character for you as soon as you can do that. But kind of one of those judgment calls on, is your team able to do Ordeals fast enough to make it worthwhile?
Dnarii joining Wraith up on Ordeals. Not the only thing these two runners have in common in this Lali-Ho League. Each runner, their one loss has been to Plumeria Night, funnily enough. So both runners have that in common, that sense of revenge.
Yeah, and I do see Plumeria Knight in chat wishing both runners well. Just part of the great camaraderie and community that we have here for Free Enterprise, where we watch each other's races and cheer each other on. It is a whole lot of fun to be a racer and a person here. But hey, that's a Golbez.
And the front of the bridge has lots of laughs for everybody.
It is nice to know that Golbez is here because this is not our intended underground access. So a runner could see this and decide, I don't really want to deal with it, and see whether or not I get a hook or a magma key from trying to do Baron in.
Yeah, it could be it could be a magma key or a hook behind ordeals, but that does mean that either of the other one would be available somewhere else on the overworld.
Yeah.
Golbez, Valvalis, and Wyvern cannot block your only source, or your only path underground in these flags.
We see on Gaming with Awraith side that the Shadow Dragon makes a little bit of breakfast of Rydia. Meanwhile, he's already full for Dnarii because Shadow Dragon will only take you down to 2 living party members on screen. Since Dnarii only has 2 party members, everyone lives.
We always tell the Shadow Dragon not to spoil his dinner, but sometimes he just doesn't listen.
Virus comes out and makes Palom also take a nap. However, Tell is able to run buffer out that Starveil there. Counters gets a lit 3, but bound to the fire 2 now. So that Golbez is pretty much dead and just doesn't know it yet.
Dnarii, meanwhile, also had that Palom go down to the virus. Couldn't get that Starveil off quickly enough on Tella because that Palom was in the middle slot, making it just a little bit faster, I think. Switches his party composition. We'll try it again.
I think that depending on whether or not you pay attention to how much damage that virus did, you could just go in and pre-piggy everyone, because you don't actually need your party to do anything in this fight except connect with Golbez once at some point, because Golbez is doing enough damage with that lit 3 and the fire 2 and then the next virus to essentially kill himself. And this is my favorite Young spot.
Around the world! This reminds me of nothing else more than the original Mortal Kombat, where Scorpion would jump off the one side of the screen and punch you in the back of the head on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, that was a great move. I enjoyed that a lot.
My brother did it to me all the time, and I wanted to kill him.
That is a fair reaction. There is Yang kicking around the world. A little less lethal than Odin's backwards Zantetsuken, but a lot more fun because you get to see it more often without getting absolutely annihilated by it.
Yeah, Odin's Odin attack. It's fun to see, but if you're in it, it usually means you're getting wiped out. So the Yang kick is a lot of fun to see. It's just great to have him on the back of the bridge.
Yep, and Dnarii getting the better half of the 50-50 this time. Tella takes a nap to up direct virus, but then Golbez is asking why as Palom gets a nice fire 2.
Very nicely done. Gets Palom some just one more level. The front of the bridge doesn't have all that much experience, but gets Golbez out of the way.
Yeah, normally you're looking to have Palom at virus by pretty much at the end of the second fight here in Ordeals, if you've cleared all the overworld. But we've had pretty much we've had a number of the half point or partial XP bosses in Dark Elf, in Golbez, and in Elements, to where we're way short of what we'd normally expect to be. And welcome in, RPG Limit Break. Thanks for raiding.
Welcome into the Raiders from RPG Limit Break. We are 20 minutes in here in a race between Dnarii and Gaming with Awraith. Both runners have 1 win. Each runner started with a Crystal Sword and a Palom. Defeating King Queen and getting Cecil are the 4th and 5th objectives, respectively. Neither runner has seen that Cecil yet.
Yep, no one's checked the bed in Kaipo yet. but we do know that it's Edward having tea with Vigan in the Baron Inn, and we do know that there is a pan waiting for Gaming with Wraith in Fabul.
Yep, Dnarii has done Fabul. Wraith has done a little bit more looting, but both runners are on the back tech spot of Mount Ordeals, taking care of Golbez in the front spot.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit of a slow start to the scene with Palom and Tella. That pretty annoying Dark Elf up on Mount Hobbs that prevented us from getting a lot of experience. Even more experience lost to elements at Antlion, to where we had to do multiple fights to get Palom even to a single ice or a single level 2 spell. Pink Cat Boy asked why characters are jittering. It's because we probably used Blink, which gives them a little bit of a I don't know which image of them to hit, so you kind of miss on it if you were looking at Gaming with Awraith side.
Yeah, but as the baseball player Joe Medwick, who often showed up to games drunk, as he said, well, when there are 3 balls coming at you, just swing at the one in the middle. Maybe enemies should take that to heart.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's also like when 3 statisticians go maybe duck hunting or skeet shooting, and one of them shoots a little bit in front, and the second one shoots in the middle, and the third one says, "We've got him." But both runners see that young crumble away. No more kicks around the world for anyone on this seed.
And that was a Sand Ruby as the reward. That both runners, after they take care of the Pale Dim, you'd anticipate would make a quick beeline to that desert oasis. See who's in the bed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Gaming with Wraith quickly re-equipping a bow and those Artemis arrows, because Pale Dim is a dragon. Artemis arrows, bonus damage to dragons. Fortunately, it's just a crossbow, so it takes a couple of times to actually connect.
Yeah, you always feel bad using more Artemis arrows than you have to, but Wraith will take it. Tella will learn all the spells he had forgotten. And Wraith actually, 23 minutes in, has his first key item, which I don't know if he would have thought that coming in with a Palom start.
Yeah, I'm sure both runners are feeling this is a really slow seed, maybe feeling a little bit behind, even though it's pretty much neck and neck. Dnarii possibly with a little bit of advantage, but Gaming with Wraith is going to get through that Ogopogo much faster than Dnarii did, so yeah, I think it's really close. It's hard to tell who might be in any particular lead.
Yeah, both runners doing what they have to in the beginning. A couple of false starts, a couple of wipes, but neither runner making a major mistake as yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have possibly Gaming with Wraith's experience come through a little bit more in remembering to equip those Artemis arrows on the dragon form bosses. I saw it both against Dark Elf and here against Pale Dim. Palom doing a lot of damage, whereas Dnarii is just kind of blinking away with 22 damage with Tella, 100 so with Palom with Archer and Mute arrows, where he'd be doing much more if he just equipped the Artemis arrows.
And so Gaming with the Wraith, maybe giving us a preview of what he's thinking. Got an Asura summon somewhere along the way, even though he has Riddy in the party, sells it for money instead. Gonna rely on Tella for the short term at least as the white mage. I don't know if he has big plans for Rydia or not.
Dnarii should have Artemis arrows unless he sold them, because he did complete the fight in Atlan Cave where both runners did get Artemis arrows out of there. So unless he sold them or got rid of them, he should have them. Unless he also just reset out of the check entirely. But that's an edge in bed. Pretty happy about that, aren't you?
Certainly. Not ecstatic as you would be with a Cecil, but certainly an edge would help this party out, give it a little oomph, in the physical department. We haven't seen any great edge weapons yet, but just hang on. Some are bound to turn up.
Even longswords, which only about 11,000 apiece, I'm very happy equipping Edge with. I know we've seen a mute knife already, so like one longsword, one mute knife is great for Edge. Gives you a lot of utility.
Yeah, even that assassin dagger that we saw will help him out, and we've found at least one claw. So Edge is a good Swiss Army knife at this point, if nothing else.
Plus, the flame shell is really nice for him too. Rune rings will help get that magic stat up a little bit to have it do a little bit more damage. And the question from Fantastodon, did Dnarii decide not to fight the boss for Iridia? Yeah, both runners checked Hobbs pretty early. It was a dark elf with just with base level Palom and Tella, and nothing really to recommend extra damage. Both runners faded it for a bit. Gaming with Wraith did go back, but Dnarii has decided that Iridia is not quite worth it yet.
And in fact, I think Dnarii fought that Dark Elf, went to the front of Hobbs, saw it was a mage summit, and reset out.
Okay.
So Dnarii did that fight and reset to before it. I don't know if that was intentional, if he was just counting on ditching Iridia if he didn't get that summon, or if he didn't save properly. But either way, he doesn't have Iridia in the party, but he does have an edge.
And we've got a bonus round in the back of the waterfall. That is Demas taking a shower.
And this could be huge if this is a spot that that Wraith checks that Dnarii does not. Not everybody checks the waterfall before doing some other checks, and this Demas could be holding just about anything.
If this is our underground access, probably not as big of a bonus for gaming with the Wraith, but if this is something like the Legend Sword or the Twin Harp, where you don't necessarily need it to go underground or make progression for a little while, but it's still an important key item in our flag set, could definitely be huge for gaming with the Wraith.
Dnarii, meanwhile, heading into the Baron Inn. Baigen has come down from his ivory tower and is hanging with the commoners. In the Baron Inn, he's quickly dispatched. The second fight is some flavor of Milon. And it's Milon and friends.
Yeah, exactly. So Edge is going to clear out all the friends with this flame. I saw Plumerian Knight mentioned earlier, recommendation for runners to use Bluff. This would be a great fight to bluff up a couple times with Palom before doing anything else, just so you eat fewer of these lit 1 counters, which just take time.
Very much so. That Fire 2 does some damage, but this spot has 4,000 HP. Milon has the bulk of them. Just a couple of bluffs will make that Fire 2 that much more effective. And that's a Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Dnarii might take a very, very long time to find that Darkness Crystal. That is the kind of, well, it can be anywhere on the blue planet sort of thing that makes it very, very hard to not kind of last location unless you are thinking about where Demas could be hiding.
And so not only is that Moon access to a bunch of key item checks, that's a character check as well. And Moon Cecil could be up there, and if that's the case, the sooner a runner checks that, the better.
But Dnarii is given the hook, which is the key item that you most want to see if you have yet to check the waterfall there, because you now will, Dnarii must be thinking, well, hook's what I gotta do, I gotta go raise that hovercraft, and it's possible Dnarii remembers to go check that waterfall. Let's hope that is the case.
I know for me personally, the hook is a good reminder to go check for Demist in the Mist Cave and the waterfall, just because I would rather not have to use the hook to get underground if I can at all avoid it.
Yeah, exactly.
But Dnarii is picking up that hovercraft, going to go to Evelyn Cave, at least for the character check, you would think.
Like character, the shop is really nice. Defense Sword is a pleasant thing, although if it's a Cecil here waiting for us, since we know there's one in the seed somewhere, Defense Sword, not great for him, since we already have Excalibur, or already have Crystal Sword. But I mentioned these shops. This is the first place that either runner can go get sirens um, or Bacchus wine. Yep, there's Hourglass and Bacchus wine. That is a very, very happy shop.
And Thor Rages as well, in case there's a rude Kainatsu somewhere.
And hopefully that does click into Dnarii's mind if there is a Kanatsu, because we do get to kind of peek the second boss here. So it's entirely possible that we might, if we do see a Kanatsu, get a quick comeback here to buy some more Thor Rages, or maybe we'll just buy some right away. Yep, there we are.
Yeah, Thor Rages are like your preferred credit card. You don't want to leave home without them. And
Yeah,
there's a
absolutely.
Zeus Gauntlet. And as soon as this Cecil turns up, gonna be fully loaded.
Yep, I mean, I don't even hate the Zeus Gauntlet just on that edge that we've got, because he loves that plus 15 to strength too.
Yeah, but does he deserve it? Has he been a good boy?
He's been a good boy. He's
I
done
think
work.
so.
And that's a cane, and we've got a blue robe.
So that blue rope could be very nice, or it could be really, really annoying in that spot.
That cane does make that defense sword a very nice pickup out of that treasure chest too. That is going to be Kane's best weapon and best friend for quite a long time in terms of just normal damage against an enemy where you don't have a weakness. That defense sword is better than the white spear or the dragoon spear until Kane is I think somewhere in the mid 50s, just because of how the accuracy stuff works.
And so this is a party, Dnarii, with 5 members in his party. Wraith has 5 members as well. I did not see if he took that Edward, or he had to take the Edward now. But this is a party you don't mind diving underground with.
No, I'm very tempted to take one of those hourglasses and do the chest with the mad ogres on the way down, because I would like to get some Quake on Palom. I'd like to get some levels on that cane with that defense sword. But I'm overall pretty happy with it.
Dnarii gonna loot out the rest of this cave, and why not? It's been so good to him so far.
Yeah, and did do take that quick save to make sure that if you do run into the Staleman chest that you can reset. I definitely wouldn't want to take that fight overall. It's just a little bit slow and you don't get a whole lot of experience for it. There's not tons of value. Really love getting that Aegis shield too. That now means everybody in the party has some sort of mage protection. Rune rings give you mage resistance as well as that Aegis shield. So the Mad Ogre chest is going to be very, very easy to deal with.
The only reason I'd be tempted to take that Staleman fight is there's a chance that they could have a Masamune, which would make your edge even more powerful.
Absolutely, there is a chance. The Cave Eblin, though, has a only 15% chance, it looks like, as I'm checking the documentation, of a Tier 7 item. Castle Eblin's the real goods for Tier 7 pulls, because that is a 40% chance if you go loot the castle rather than the cave.
Oh, probabilities.
Yep, never tell me the odds. But Gaming with Wraith, summoning that whale, going up to the moon, checking the Hummingway shop probably, and definitely going to check that Lunar Dais, hoping for Cecil, maybe hoping for Fu. There's a lot of power that could be up here, and maybe that objective too.
Just elixirs up in the Hummingway shop. Good items, obviously very expensive though.
Yeah, they're very nice, and even though they've had a price reduction to 30,000 is really expensive when we're on an S quarter, where our items are selling for just a quarter of the purchase price, rather than half like they normally would.
Yeah, all the shopkeepers have decided that your goods are no longer as valuable as they once were, and I think that's an antitrust violation, honestly. But that's a Rosa up on the dais. Not who we're looking for, but very nice to see.
Yeah, definitely an improvement over the Edward. I would also say an improvement over the Rydia. because I don't think we found a good summon for her yet. So very happy to see Rosa anytime she exists, because hey, great white mage learns Berserk fairly soon. Won't know exit, but we have Tele to cover that base already anyway, so definitely a good pickup.
Yep, and with I believe both runners have a great bow, and those Artemis arrows. And that tiara, she could do some real damage in a pinch.
Absolutely.
Dnarii taking care of that Mad Ogre chest very nicely and gets his Palom up to Virus.
And gets some Artemis arrows.
Stacks on stacks.
Yeah, and neither of the blue robe fights are going to be that scary here. Waterhack, of course, is going to be pretty darn free once we get through the King-Queen spot. And the knowing that we have already picked up Hourglasses, the All Gauntlet, if we have to fight that at the Rubicon spot, is also pretty darn free and easy to get through. But the King-Queen spot here is going to be the real challenge, I think, for these runners, depending on what boss we fight.
Yeah, that gauntlet is going to be annoying and slow, and you have to use some items, but that'd be true of it no matter where it was at this spot. It's not especially dangerous. But the King-Queen Evelyn spot hits hard, and Mom Bomb here, definitely not free.
Yeah, not free, not fun. I am very tempted to, depending on how fast we get spells off, definitely want to blink people up, get that virus going. And think about a reset to move down to battle speed 3, just so I can make sure that I can get all my actions in.
Yeah, you could see how hard that Mom Bomb hits. 600 on that front row edge. Going to be a scrap here.
Yeah, but looks like Palom well enough defended. Only takes a couple hundred from that punch. Tele getting some blinks off. We're getting near to the point where Mom Bomb's going to start transforming, so maybe we'll look to get a little bit of curative so that at least Palom lives through it and can maybe have virus off on all the little bomblets.
Yeah, and if for some reason Palom is next up on the turn order, that edge has that flame, which can do nice AoE damage as well.
Yeah, but looks like we're going to get edge berserked. Dnarii might be trying to damage race the extra 9,000 hit points. I don't think it's going to happen quite with this party at these levels yet.
Wraith, meanwhile, defending the honor of Fabul against the invading Canadian menace.
And successfully does defend. Everyone lives through that explosion. So as long as we're able to take out some of these bombs pretty quickly, Dnarii will be through this first fight. And like we talked about earlier, should be through that second fight pretty straightforwardly.
Wraith also picks up that pan and now knows that the hook route is the way underground. Unless he wants to do moon checks.
I mean, those are definitely an option. We haven't seen a whole lot of D-machining earlier like we talked about, but we do have an online tele. And if you want to spend the time getting Palom up to nuke, getting Rosa up to white, that's a pretty worthy endeavor.
Yeah, you ever want to just wipe a floor with a seed? That's certainly possible.
Yep, absolutely, and it could be where our King Queen Evelyn and our Cecil are. We've seen, I think, at least one fully required giant in this tournament so far. Definitely seen pieces of Go Mode up in other giants. So definitely possible. Could be an interesting gamble if one of the runners wants to make it. I think it's possibly too early in the seed to do, but it's not necessarily awful if you just want to not do the hook at all. You could go giant, check those things, and then just go clear the moon.
Yeah, I think with how often we wish cast for the giant to be hard required, it's something that's in the runners' minds. But I think you're right. I think it'll be last resort.
And Pink Hat Boy in chat asking about your Canadian bonus joke. Do you want to explain that a touch?
Oh, sure. Ogopogo in this game is a serpent, a snake, a dragon that lives on the moon. In real life, Ogopogo is a mythical creature that lives in a lake in, I think, British Columbia, somewhere in Canada. It's kind of the Canadian equivalent of the Loch Ness Monster. So that's where that comes from.
And we do have a water hag. This is a nice, free and easy fight. We're going to get a nice 25k, and I think there's another Zeus Gauntlet here in the Evelyn Hospital.
That pod always a pain to check, and that's what makes it especially gratifying when you find something really nice back there.
Yeah, Gaming with Wraith picking up 2 Zeus Gauntlets here, including the Evelyn Cave. That is a real nice find overall.
Water Hag takes 3 hits. Anna makes her required appearance in the game. She hopefully will get paid better than Scale for that, for her cameo appearance. And Dnarii will be through to the underground.
Yeah, 42 minutes is definitely not a bad time underground, especially with how slow this party was to get going. But you've definitely seen both runners pick up a lot of traction and really start to be able to dig into the seed a bit. Gaming with Wraith does run into the Stalemate chest, so we'll see if your call of Masamune does hold out.
Dnarii takes a peek at the top of the tower. The boss there, some flavor of guards. Either the Baron guards or the officer-soldier fight. Keyless Tower might be a possible play once Dnarii takes his tour of the underground.
Yeah, depending on how I feel about my party, I would definitely be thinking about that. I know that both runners have hourglasses, and that's going to be some really good free experience. You could also feel that your party is strong enough to go ahead and go to Dwarf Castle, get a character check and a couple of boss checks out of the way, instead of running up to Keyless Tower right away. We'll just kind of see what it seems like our runners are feeling like. And I totally missed what came out of that trap chest.
It was a crystal shield.
So it's okay.
So it's money.
It's money. We do get a siren though for Dnarii too. We haven't seen sirens in a shop yet, but we're gonna get all the rest of the checks hopefully pretty soon here.
Yeah, Dnarii, I believe, has another siren that he found in the Watery Pass, so at least has a couple of sirens start on taking care of the underground checks.
I think the sirens in pocket would make me less tempted to go rush Tapo Tower in favor for that free XP because, well, sirens are effectively free XP.
Yep, and there's an Artemis bow. And it is coffins and silk webs in the Faymart shop. Also worth noting, both runners have an edge, which means Edge can sneak sirens from those trap chests in the tower.
Yeah, absolutely. At some point, I think it was version 3 when we got the ability to have the Japanese items, and then we do have them kept on in the drop tables here in the Lali-Ho League. There are some turns where we turn them off, but you can indeed steal sirens from alerts and even the last arm, I believe, up in the Giant. Hey, that's a free bonus.
And that's an objective. And Dnarii going right after it. King Queen Evelyn, even at this spot, poses no threat, except he has only 1 HP.
Definitely a little bit of a thing to remember, but Palam's able to toss a cure on Edge. As long as Tella is not hit by a Fire 2 right away, we'll all be fine.
But that's just a moment where your heart just leaps into your throat, like, oh, oops, I forgot that I took so much damage walking down here.
Yeah, but the Queen doing Dnarii a huge favor, making Edward take a nap, helping preserve the anchor a little bit. Dnarii is doing a little bit of attacking, it seems, which is something that will just kind of make this fight a little bit slower. There's not really enough damage out of this party to do all the damage required to defeat the king by the time they would just exhaust themselves. So this is a place where I would probably tend to prefer just not doing anything, letting the script take care of it.
Yeah, I believe the king has, 30,000 plus HP at the spot?
Well, the spot itself normally has 35, I think. So
35.
it splits it evenly between the two of them. So it's still 17.5, I think. Oh, roughly for the two.
Well, I meant the king of monsters.
Yeah.
So, Dnarii is going to try and race. He'll lose a few seconds off of that, but either way.
It's not in doubt. It's just a little bit slower than it could be if you're trying to eke out every last second out of a seed.
Meanwhile, Wraith ditched that Rydia for Kane, and now he's going to take on these Mad Ogres.
Yeah, Gaming with Wraith's party is definitely shaping up into an excellent one at this point.
Yeah, the parties are similar, except Dnarii has an Edward, and Wraith has a Rosa. And, I like Edward, but unless there's an evil wall or something like that in a really rude spot, or we find a spoon really soon, you'd rather have Rosa over Eddie.
Yeah, absolutely. Tella can still do some work as your anchor, can still hit with a Berserk, can still hit the Life Wand, especially if you find a good White Mage stat stick to kind of help out with that curse ring that I'm sure the runners will be rocking on him pretty soon. Gaming with Wraith picks up his extra batch of 10 Artemis arrows, which if we do find Sirens will be very, very nice. We'll let that Rosa or even that Palom for both runners absolutely clean up and take out the dragon eggs in one shot, and that's a rat tail we get too. So a very nice Leviathan spot for Dnarii.
Very much so, and that's a doable Leviathan in the Ashura spot as well, the French vanilla Leviathan. Maybe not at these levels, but before too long, Dnarii should be able, if he were so inclined, to come down and take care of that Leviathan.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely something you might want some Cure 3 pots for, and throw up a Star Veil or two, because that Ice 2 from Leviathan in the Ashura spot is going to hurt a good bit.
Dnarii doesn't yet know that there are Cure 3 potions available in Troya. Wraith has that information, but Wraith is still taking on this Mom Bomb. Will find it a little bit rough, but is putting out a bunch of damage.
Yep, I'm getting a blink out on the kid. Rosa unfortunately going to take a quick nap, but I think if Palom gets that blink, this Quake will probably set Mom Bomb up in order to be in the explode phase, and can just kind of sit on Palom's turn at that point.
Well, this is unfortunate. Dnarii forgot he had the pan, so he talked to Yang, did not actually strike Yang with the pan, and leaves that Sylph Cave.
Dnarii does have the pan tracked on his own tracker, and will go there. I think it's an interesting choice to have both the Rat Tail and Sheila 1 armed, but not go follow them up right away. I can definitely see leaving the Rat Tail for a little bit, because it in and of itself doesn't do tons for you quite yet, and the Dwarf Castle check is really interesting. But I think if I'm going to go all the way to Sylph Cave and then go visit Yang, I'm going to follow that up with the Sheila check.
Yeah, at a minimum, he'll realize when he visits Sheila and he only gets one item from her. But it's one of those things where you hope he figures it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
meanwhile, Wraith took a wipe to that Mom Bomb.
Did get into the bomb phase, but Palom did not kill all of the gray bombs, and they did not like Quake Kid and his gray hair in this particular incarnation, unfortunately.
Dark Imps in the first spot in Dwarf Castle. One of those typically free fights because they do not have the boss bit, but they're still a little bit punchy.
Yeah, this is not a super fun fight always, because there are just so many attacks coming at you. Gaming with Wraith, though, doing a really good job of run buffering on the second fight, able to get Edge Berserked, get Palom cured, get her onto Tella's turn with nobody dead, and now Tella is dead, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll be able to handle this one a little bit better.
Dnarii takes care of the Dark Imps. That first spot in Dwarf Castle, canonically, what Luca is playing with. So, I think I don't want to cast aspersions on the Dark Imps. I think Luca needs better friends.
Oh, it's true. I'm definitely going to be interested to see what form of Dwarven fashion Luca is sporting for us today. But we get second Palom coming out of there, and a Mylon Zed.
Yeah, you never want to see a purely physical boss in the second spot because this spot has low magic power, but it's very low HP as well. So Dnarii should be through with not a lot of trouble.
Yeah, not too troublesome. I think Dnarii might have queued up a Quake here with Palom, though, which is a little bit unfortunate because somehow the Fiend of Earth is flying.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a kind of coding shortcut because the Fiend of Earth, they want to be completely resistant to any kind of earth magic, and the quickest way to do that is to give him the flying bit. So you can totally see the strings. He's a couple of 2-3 inches off the ground.
Yeah, the Game with Wraith is through that Mom Bomb, is fighting this Water Hag, should be getting through this pretty quickly. And I think we ditched that Edward a little bit earlier for Dnarii in favor of the Palom, just to have a little bit of a better anchor. Because Edward did pick up the 25,000 XP from this Water Hag fight. The Game with a Wraith is in, and Eddie is pretty fast. And even though that's only a few levels, and the Curse Ring is still going to keep him down for a while, in case you accidentally get him some more levels, Eddie can start getting faster than a Curse Ring can really work for you in order for late game agility anchoring.
It's like, even where we want him to be bad, he's bad at being bad. Eddie is just that kind of character.
Eddie has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Sometimes, though, the tricks he plays on you. But that's an Adamant Rock. So Dnarii moving closer to go mode. Still nothing complete yet beyond finding that King Queen. But is assembling more pieces of that puzzle.
Yeah, Adamant is half of the second objective. Dnarii going to check the item and weapon shops. Nothing of note in the item shop, and Odin Summon is not useful, especially since there is no Iridia to equip it on. And looking to sell. Didn't see quite what he wants to buy here. Ooh, ninja swords.
Yeah, ninja sword, definitely a good thing. And I would also just like to sell to get rid of stuff in my inventory that I don't really intend to use anymore, just to clean up spots. So that if I am at some convenient treasure chests, I can go buy some. Just because inventory management is such a huge part of Free Enterprise. And if I can clear up spots for stuff I'm not going to use anymore, like those poison arrows, I think there were some, it's really nice to just get rid of them.
Yeah, I've often thought that the character should invest in some reusable bags, because you can sling a whole bunch of them over your arm and just make one trip from the car. But they don't seem to listen to me.
Yeah, I bet Edward would really like a wagon to pull behind himself too. That'd be really awesome. It's like one of those little red flyer wagons or something.
Yeah,
up with loot.
He'd be adorable.
It'd be great.
Or a sled. Nice sled.
I can totally see Edward with one of those sleds that have the runners on them and stuff, just going down a hill.
Whee!
Meanwhile, we do get a pan bonk with Gaming with a Wraith and rewarded with a Stardust Rod. So a nice tier 6 rod for one of his Palom, or for that Palom, or for that Tella. But nothing that Dnarii is absolutely missing and would be crushed to not have.
No, which is good for Dnarii. Dnarii, despite the checks waiting for him above the surface on the blue planet, gonna make the keyless tower play.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this play. I think it is entirely reasonable. I definitely like doing it before the turning in that rat tail, because if I get a pink tail from here, I can just turn in both tails at once. Um, Also, hopefully, it's giving Dnarii a little bit more time to remember that there is a pan bonk available to him, so he does not have to visit Sheila multiple times.
Wraith, meanwhile, using one of those sirens he found right next to the water hag and the mom bomb, and gets a few levels on all of his party. Use him if you got him. I think it's a good play to get a couple quick levels when you're dealing with this part of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you getting Rosa up to Blink and maybe even Charm. Charm's not a great spell in itself, just extra levels in HP she gets to get there. Very, very useful. Gives you a little more utility. Gives you just more options if you come into Fey March and find something that you kind of can marginally beat. Makes it a little bit easier to just get over that margin and take it out.
Leviathan is not a dragon. Is that right?
That is correct. Leviathan, not a dragon.
Otherwise, that Rosa with Artemis Bow, Artemis Arrows would do a ton of work against that Leviathan in the Asura spot.
Yeah, if that was a Wyvern, that'd be super spectacular. However, we get some nice Toad strats on these guards. They're going to try and piggy the team, but Toads can't cast Piggy, so they're just going to be angry about it, and then they're going to croak.
I understood that reference. Yeah, everybody knows only pigs can cast Piggy, but now that the guards are just little bitty frogs, they are no longer quite as menacing, and Dnarii will zerk up his front row fighters and go to town.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see if there might be any sort of Life 2 coming out here, but it looks like Tella's casting a virus or some other sort of spell. I would have been interested to see like a week coming from Tella 2 to knock down one of the guards a little bit faster, because there's actually a surprising amount of HP in this spot as well. Each guard should have about 12,000 if I remember correctly.
And with the amount of firepower that virus had, that's a good time, I think, to take a risk that Tella can cast Stone and see if the Stone would take care of them.
Yeah, it really depends on whether you're looking to life glitch or not, and take advantage of getting that free extra kill off of just throwing a life pod something that's dying.
If that was his plan, he couldn't get to it fast enough, but he is through the guards.
Yeah, double Zergers do make that a little bit harder.
And that's a twin harp. Keyless Tower is the play again. Antidale, what do I say?
Keyless Tower's the play again.
Keyless Tower. That's what I say. Keyless Tower works every time. It's just how it is. We've seen that again and again.
Yeah, Keyless Tower and Top Down Moon have been absolutely part of the meta for this flag set so far. They have just worked out so well for so many runners, especially when you see a free easy boss there. It is so hard to not just run up the tower and take them out before you leave the underground the first time.
So Dnarii taking care of the underground checks, and it's working out really well for him so far, besides missing out on that Stardust Rod. But he's got a rock, he's got a harp, and he's still got a bunch of checks on the surface of the blue planet.
Yep, and he's gotten rid of so many checks too that he's eventually going to be forced to go hunting that Demus so he can get some moon access, if that ends up being required all in the seed, which it probably is.
Sirens and Tamra. The Wraith made a very quick check of that job dwarf, by the way. It was a computer something technician, I believe. And we'll have our top people reviewing the clip to see if they can slow that down.
I'm just wondering what kind of like computer brand name Dwarven Forge computers would be.
Dnarii gets the spoon. That's something for Edge to dart. There's the Eddie that was previously hanging around with us is no longer around. So no spoonward today.
Yep, Eddie sitting back at Cafe Howdy is crying over his lost spoon because once he's been dismissed here, these flag sets, you can't get him back. There are 3 duplicate characters available in each seed, since we do only have 10 available characters to us, and there are 13 character checks. There's the possibility of finding Eddie again, but I don't think I take him at this point with what I have on the rest of my team.
Sheila has the pass. So Dnarii asks Sheila to give him a key item, and she says, "No, thanks, I'll pass."
But
And our restreamer Solaris confirming the job dwarf is a computer customer support specialist. So a lot of dwarves, I imagine, have trouble plugging in their computers, calling customer support, and that helpful dwarf in Tamra helps them out.
Yeah, dwarves complaining about all the difficulty of Wi-Fi in the underground, just not really good lines of sight anywhere. The miasma from the magma, probably not doing great shakes for them either. So yeah, just helping out all dwarven kind, connected, stay online.
Speaking of helping out, I do want to thank our restreamer Solaris, our tracker Scythe Marshal, for their great work in helping us out and keeping the pictures moving and the buttons clicked.
Absolutely. It is always a pleasure to be part of all the restream teams and to have such wonderful people working behind the scenes, not getting always quite all the credit and acclamation they deserve. But thank you both very much for doing excellent jobs.
And also give Antidale all the credit and acclamation he deserves.
Precisely 1/2 of what you should be getting.
Oh, don't give yourself nothing. That's just unfair.
Oh no, we're both getting nothing?
Dnarii making this harp check. Going to see if he can maybe find a lot of metal to kit himself up with and make this dark elf fight go faster.
Yep, we'll see if Palom can get virus on the team and knock everybody out real quick, just so we don't have to suffer through Dark Elf casting at us. But fortunately, not good enough to get the entire team. So Palom gonna take some of these shots.
Yeah, and that virus is also a risk because I've had this happen to me, where I virused my own team, and then I got the dreaded HP ran out on my own team.
Yeah, and sometimes that cascades, and it's really, really obnoxious.
But Eddie is going to save the day by putting a coin in his harp jukebox and playing us a tune.
That's 242 available harp tunes as of 4.2, and let's listen in. And Dnarii showing off, while the Super Mario Bros. 3 theme plays, that even though Cave Magnus usually has some very high magic defense, that magic defense is not fully applied everywhere. So those soldiers absolutely taken out by the Quake. Officer takes 1 point of damage, but whatever, he then retreats.
And he gets a Leviathan for his efforts. And I don't know about you, Antidale. I was dancing to that harp song the entire time. That is delightful.
It is delightful and charming and absolutely wonderful. And maybe I'll watch some Super Mario Bros. 3 at some point again soon.
There you go. Welcome to Randomania 2, and welcome to Possum Morpheus, a twin raid going on here. We had an exciting race so far between Dnarii and Gaming with a Wraith. Both runners have done one objective a piece. They started with a Crystal Sword. They had Get Cecil as an objective. Still no Cecil around, but both runners have made quick work of the overworld. The key difference right now, I think, is Dnarii has not checked the D-Mist in Waterfall, which had the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a very, very key point as this race goes on. The longer Gaming with Wraith doesn't do anything particularly strong with it. Picking up the Rosa is definitely very, very nice that it's sitting there on the litter dais, just waiting for Dnarii to come visit. Gaming with Wraith, having Rosa, having those levels on her is fantastic. But the longer it goes on that Gaming with Wraith is not up there on the moon, the longer that is just kind of sitting there and not doing anything positive for him. One other thing that has happened is that Dnarii forgot that he had the pan when he went to go visit Sheila, but is only missing out on a Stardust Rod and a Zeus Gauntlet. Both great pieces of gear, but nothing that is going to prevent him from completing the seed.
And that will surely be a relief to him. Also, Dnarii is up 2 objectives to 1 at the moment because the Twin Harp was at the top of tower, which Dnarii just completed just before the raids. Hopefully, Wraith will get to Tower of Zot soon, if only to hear that harp music again.
Yeah, but Gaming with Wraith clearly, even though he's 15 minutes ahead, has heard my call to go to the moon, just doing it a little bit too soon. Going up there is probably going to start clearing some moon checks, I would imagine.
And first stop, Value Cave.
Yeah, I like this check overall. You've got hourglasses, you've got sirens. I believe Gaming with Wraith was the runner who found them, if I'm not mistaken. Can check the boss, decide how much you want to grind before doing it, if you feel like it is a comfortable boss that you can do after a little bit of a grind.
Yeah, the King Ryu's the best grind on the moon, or at least the most efficient grind on the moon, is hanging out in Bahamut Cave. It's also one of the places where you can peek the boss before you decide whether or not to take it on. That's Ashura, and he's thinking about it.
Yeah, you've got a lot of options with this Asura. I think that there's a Mute Knife in play for both runners. I know I've seen at least one runner have it. You have a lot of time to set up because Asura is just going to cast healing spells on herself, so you can blink everybody up. You can even decide to do reflect strats and have Palom just bluff up a whole lot and then bounce spells off of him. But it looks like we're going to get some blinks on people. We'll probably see a couple of walls bounced, or a couple of Starveils bounced, and then just some attacking going on.
Yeah, this spot hits very hard, so the time that Ashura grants to allow you to get set up is really invaluable. Just going to blink up Rosa for now and start attacking.
Yeah, with casters, this is overall pretty free. Dnarii is through that Leviathan. Just get the Rune Axe, which will be very helpful in taking out Asura here at the K value. But Edge doing 7,000. I think that is a Ninja Sword plus Mute Knife.
Would not surprise me. It looks looks like a green blade, which I believe is the ninja sword. But
Blade to be high for sure.
yeah,
I just don't remember which runner was the one who went and purchased the ninja sword out of Dwarf Castle or not.
I think that was Dnarii, as a matter of fact. I don't know if Wraith found one, but Dnarii still not remembering that pan. Not going to cost him, except in some gear, but is going to check for that demist.
Yeah, Dnarii might be just thinking that there's nothing else to check at this point, which is not entirely wrong. Um, as we've seen that there was nothing from that pan. Both runners have picked up at least one Zeus Gauntlet. We've seen a total of 3 so far in the seed. I wonder if Dnarii is going to feel a little bit behind now that Dnarii is here at the waterfall, going to be checking that demist.
And if he does feel behind, if that will reflect in some of the choices, I guess we'll see. Wraith defeating that Asura gets a Luca key. That is a real doozy of a pickle.
Yeah.
It's a long check. It's an annoying one to get out of. The big advantage, I suppose, if you wanted to go chase that, is you get to see the key item first. You don't even have to check the boss because you're not looking for bosses anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty willing. I definitely don't know if I'm doing it if I'm Gaming with a Wraith yet, because gaming is still looking for a lot of things. But I would be considering thinking about keeping a save here, just going down and seeing what that key item is. And if it's something that I need, then I'm not in the middle of lunar subterrane, and I can go do it. And if it's something that I don't need, I can just reset back up here to the moon. But Gaming with a Wraith deciding, no, we'll just put off that Luca key for a while. And going down into the LST.
Yeah, there are enough checks still on the blue planet to it makes sense to chain them together. There's still a Baron key out there. There's still a Tower key out there. Earth Crystal is still out there. If you can stay on the moon, run through the bosses, and chain some of the checks back on the blue planet together, that's more efficient.
Absolutely, and that kind of gamble that I was talking about is probably something you do when you're only a key item away, or possibly 2, and you still have like Baron and Tower key available to you, where that can gate multiple things pretty easily, or awkward to check anyway.
Yep. Dnarii got his Darkness Crystal, is going to wish, and as everybody knows, a wish, if you wish hard enough, summons a whale from the bay. Is that a bay? Is that an inlet? Whatever kind of body of water that is.
I could see it being a bay.
And Dnarii going to check the moon, probably check that shop, check that character, and then we'll see where he goes from there.
Yeah, both Skull and Fumarianite saying it's Mouth of the Dragon, which absolutely, but like, would they call it the Mouth of the Dragon of Mysidia? Like, are there multiple Mouths of the Dragon on a map? Like, is that the real correct geographical term?
Yeah, it's not a literal mouth of a literal dragon. It's got to be some kind of geographical landmark.
Just also thinking of like any sailors who are sailing into Mysidia and port there, like, oh, we gotta sail through the Mouth of the Dragon. That sounds kind of intimidating. Maybe there's just not a whole lot of merchant traffic into Mysidia.
Although there are certainly some sailors who would take that as a challenge and delight in entering and leaving the Mouth of the Dragon a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, there are definitely some foolhardy sailors, probably that Leviathan has already eaten. Unfortunately for them, since they're just braving all of the wrong choices.
Gaming with the Wraith going into the double chest ribbon room, finding Antlion. Antlion here does not care that Gaming with the Wraith has 2 berserkers. Every fight command, Antlion will counter, and that's why Gaming with the Wraith is jumping with Kayn.
Yeah, I would not object to throwing the spoon here if Gaming with the Wraith has not done it, because if you don't get value out of it, you just reset. And if you do get value out of it, great, you saved yourself a lot of time by throwing a spoon at a mean boss. Meanwhile, Dnarii following the meta of the tournament so far and going top down.
Yeah, this is a strategy that would work better if there were only one key item that he is looking for, but he's looking for 2 at least, or 2 at most, I suppose, and finds Plague in this first spot.
Yeah, definitely a much easier fight for your first one on the moon than Gaming with Wraith has found. And Scala-Kitty doing the research, providing us the science, saying that inlet is the opening and it'll probably be a sound inside the inlet.
And thank you, Scala-Kitty, for that sound information.
I'm just going to enjoy that one for a little bit.
The nice thing about Dnarii's setup for this Plague fight, already had that Palom in the middle down for anchoring purposes, and so just raises that Palom up, and we'll find it really easy to knock that Palom back down again, and make this Plague fight trivial.
Yeah, Plague not doing him a solid though, not casting Count quite yet, again, but there it is, and getting the other Palom back up will help. And hopefully that we're able to knock middle Palom back down before the end of this fight.
Wraith, meanwhile, getting through that Antlion doesn't seem to be in immediate danger.
Nope, doing a very good job getting the blinks up and just using all sorts of other ways of dealing damage rather than using that fight command that you talked about that Antlion is going to counter. Just going to be a bit of a slog is all.
Yeah, the magic defense high enough here that Edge's Flame not doing much at all, but it's better than eating that counter attack.
And Jason Ellison chat asking where King Queen was. King Queen Evelyn was at the Leviathan spot in the Fey March.
Yep, the King Queen Evelyn was taking the place of the real king of monsters, and Dnarii, through that Plague, finds a package. That's a character check. Cecil would still be a welcome addition to this party, I think.
Yeah, Crystal Sword Cecil Palom might be generally outliving his usefulness, but looks like Dnarii going to just absolutely commit to the top-down meta. Usually you see him reversed. You see Value Cave first, and then you see Murasame Spot if you're not in Go mode by the time of doing Cave Value. But reversing course, going to Cave Value, we'll be fighting Asura soon and getting a Luca key, assuming Dnarii is able to get through that fight. Meanwhile, Gaming with Wraith is through that Antlion fight here at the Riven Room and receives a crystal ring and a silver apple.
I mean, they're nice. Not what we're looking for, but they're nice.
Definitely, Rosa gonna put on that crystal ring right away. Little extra defense, a little extra agility. A very nice pickup overall, but yeah, like you said, not the dream.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where in the moment it could leave you feeling just a little deflated. That Antlion was a long slog of a fight, used up a ton of resources that get replenished with a cabin, but still you want to think that you're gaining time on your opponent, and it's hard to do.
Yeah,
after
you're pretty
a
much
long slog of fight like that.
Yeah, you're just counting on the XP that you got out of that fight to be useful in the rest of your fights. But yeah, definitely not what you're looking for. And like you said, feeling a little deflated and maybe a little bit further behind if you were feeling behind already.
But Wraith taking on the room next door, and the D-Lunars haven't moved. They're just switching offices.
No, they kicked Plague out. Plague went up to Pale Dim spot. Pale Dim then went down to Earth. Just kind of shuffling everything around.
Yep, the moon boss. We haven't seen too many moon bosses until we actually got to the moon, which is interesting. Just Ogopogo so far on the blue planet.
Yeah, and Dnarii having a much less easy time with the Sasura, not taking the same time to blink up first, doesn't have the Mute Knife on edge, did not have Kain blinked, so wasn't able to take advantage of that Rune Axe that was picked up from defeating Leviathan at the Asura spot, so is going to be not getting that Luca key, instead going to go back down to the LSD.
Yeah, that Gaming with the Wraith made that Asura look easy, but it takes preparation and it takes a clear plan. Dnarii, not quite there yet. So going to go back down into the core of the moon, see what awaits him down here.
While Gamer with Wraith has picked up the second best apple and a silver apple, also picking up the second best Cecil sword, for at least Cecil equipping it. Edge is going to be real happy to throw at somebody's face, though. Just getting Excalibur from those D-Lunars at the White Spear altar.
Yeah, it's always nice to have something on hand that Edge can throw to cut a rude opponent down to size, but Gaming with the Wraith refitting and is going to head down to that Masamune altar.
Yeah, and if I'm Gaming with the Wraith, and if I haven't used that spoon yet too, I'm absolutely starting to consider just unloading with Edge and just throwing the entire cutlery drawer at everything, just to get fights and checks over faster. Because if you get any zonks, it's great to reset out of them and get all those key items back.
Yeah, now would be the time to throw everything except the trash can.
I mean, if you can throw the trash can, I do it too. Like, that's great.
I mean, you can do that, but really it's only helpful in one spot. Octomam here, not the worst boss. Starts out fast, but after the first 3 hits, loses a tentacle. After each subsequent 2 hits, loses another. And with losing tentacles, slows down.
Yep, the important thing here is get the Berserk up, make sure that character who's Berserk is able to keep going, so getting some cures out too. If Rosa can get some blinks, that'd be great. But after a little while, this fight just kind of gets under control in and of itself.
Also, not a bad fight not to have that Crystal Sword Cecil, and Octomam is actually resistant to Holy.
Yep, in order to make Dark Knight Cecil feel a little bit stronger with his black shadow-tinged weapons, Octomam is resistant to Holy, but weak to those elements, so DKC does a little bit more. Meanwhile, Dnarii fighting the Magus Sisters, another great place for that Rune Axe to be put to use, but and the Mute Knife that Gaming with Wraith has will also be of great utility.
Yep, and the Magus Sisters can be scary in spots where magic power is really amplified. The Crystal Sword Altar is not one of those spots. Magic power here very low. So there are certainly much worse spots to find the Magus Sisters than here.
Yeah, and getting those Quakes out is really nice too. There's not a whole lot of hit points here. So Palom doing effectively like 9,000 points of damage across the board is really quality out of there. We did see a little bit of a redirect there. Kain was slated to knock Palom off and they can take a nap. However, the sisters did it for him. So Kain took a shot at Edge, betraying the party just in another way.
So with these bosses, between when these runners have gotten through these bosses, between the two, we'll have seen all the spots on the moon. It's kind of feeling like whoever breaks off and goes back to the blue planet first is going to have an advantage.
Yeah, and that's just a Magma Key for Gaming with the Wraith. So another key item puts them to 6, 8, 9 key items if I'm counting correctly. So just one shy of that 10, and that's a Tower Key for Dnarii.
And so Dnarii has one key item check plus a character check back on the blue planet. And Dnarii has 10 key items. Yeah,
so Dnarii going to be getting double XP throws to these fights will be really nice for him. Meanwhile, Gaming with the Wraith is going to do a little bit of a grind here at this point. 9 key items feels a little bit bad, but you might as well like pop 1 Siren while you're here. Rosa, I think, should have some Artemis arrows. She could berserk herself and do a whole heck of a lot of damage.
Yep, and if you're watching and wondering why Gaming with the Wraith only has 9 key items when 10 items are lit up on his tracker, that means the pass is not considered a key item because it's just a slip of paper. But more seriously, it's just because there are some flag sets where the pass can be available in other places where you wouldn't usually find key items. It's just easier not to list it as a key item. So the pass is there because it's really important, but it's not a key item.
Yeah, and as of version 3, they used to be totally distinct modes how the pass could be, but now you can intermix them, where it can be in a treasure chest, it can be in a shop, and it can be a key item. So as soon as that happened, it was made it so the pass is just never a key item in terms of counting to 10.
Dnarii runs into that antlion and quickly, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah, and then the plant got the window, and you say, no, we're going to reset this antlion. There's no fun. I'm going to do something else.
Yep, we'll take on the D-Lunars in the plague spot instead, which is a much more manageable fight for this party.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely like to see Dnarii do a little bit of a grind now that Dnarii is at that 10 key item threshold. Would definitely help out in all of these fights and really kind of accelerate everything. And that's that's just something that as you're playing for Enterprise more, you kind of look for those places where all of a sudden you've tipped a threshold and it's very useful to get a little more experience, get 5 levels here, 5 levels there, just to accelerate the rest of your seed.
Yeah, Dnarii never found those sirens in a shop. We know they're in Tamra. Dnarii has not stopped there. Did find a couple of sirens just lying around. Hasn't used any of them to my knowledge.
Yeah, well, that's a very good reason to not use sirens if you haven't found them in the shop. Then you could be waiting until the very end for your final grind to do it. That is a very reasonable choice. Chat also mentioning that both runners, Dnarii especially, could be waiting for Crystal Sword Cecil to show up. Definitely possible. But the longer you're in the seed, the more you just need to get levels on the people that you have and just not worry too much about the future. And if you're fighting moon bosses on the moon, the future, your time's already come. You got to get some levels.
Dnarii falls victim to the breath attack and takes another wipe.
Yeah, the D-Lunars definitely have a little bit of a mean script sometimes. They punch you, and then they cast fire at you, and then they punch you a bunch more, and then they cast breath. And there's a lot of ways to deal with it. One favorite way is to throw up some walls right before that breath comes out and reflect it back to them, because even though they have the boss bit, they are susceptible to their own breath. And so will turn into nice, tiny, little, cute lunar frogs.
I mean, I'd like to meet the person who's not susceptible to their own breath from time to time.
I mean, true. You do need to brush your own teeth every day and make sure that you clean up after yourself there, just so that you don't have the bad breath happening.
Yeah, especially with mask wearing being so prevalent, you really find out quick when your breath is going to be a hazard. Gaming with the Wraith finished his little grind as some nice levels on his party is going to, it looks like, go to the Crystal Sword, probably take care of the rest of the lunar subterranean before heading back down to the blue planet. Yeah,
we'll have a very, very easy fight with the Mega Sisters here. Dnarii has, meanwhile, killed one of the D-Lunars, but one is left, and it's just going to... First, it gets that breath attack off, turns everyone into a frog, but it's also going to counter everything you do to it with that flame attack, which is just no fun. So really might want to is going to hopefully take a moment, think about stuff a little bit, maybe go do a different fight at first. No, just diving right back in, moving battle speed to 3. Let's hope this works out a little bit better.
And Gaming with the Wraith, showing that Mutant Knife off, that edge did a casual 9,500 and now a casual 9,700.
Yeah, levels and multipliers. Math is good for Gaming with the Wraith, doing all sorts of nice work against those Mega Scissors, getting that tower key. Still has to fight the plague there, but otherwise, or did Gaming with the Wraith go straight to the bottom? I now no longer remember what's happened.
Yeah, Gaming with the Wraith went straight to the bottom. That plague at the Pale Dim spot is the only boss he hasn't taken on in the Lunar Subterranean.
Yeah, because he had the very nice clean fight against the Asura with the mute knife on hand.
He certainly did. So, one boss spot left on the moon. Gaming with the Wraith refits outside and is going to head right to that spot. That fire attack still doing loads of damage against all of Dnarii's party members. It's just it's a really high damage. It's kind of a mini Big Bang when you think about it. Just a whole bunch of damage to everybody.
Yeah, well, the fact that it does percentage of your max HP just makes it very rude and hard to deal with if you once you start getting a little bit behind in healing. But we did see a Star Veil go up on Palom. If Palom is able to survive until that breath phase, then we should get a reflect back. And yep, we got a Lunar Frog. The game set match for Dnarii, at least in this fight.
Very well done. Gives the D-Lunar a much needed makeover because they're just much cuter as frogs.
Yep, much cuter, much more able to be destroyed by the party. Kane squishes it with a nice little jump. Poor frog.
Dnarii towed them. He towed them all.
With Rivers complaining about puns earlier, I think that might be towing the line a little bit too much.
Well, you know, I don't give a fly. Let's forget I said that.
Yep.
Gaming with the Wraith. Meanwhile, jamming the queue with Berserkers against this plague.
And Dnarii is warping out, not having gone to fight, what is that, the Ogopogo spot? The Octomam there, I don't think even seeing the Octomam is there, and not fighting the Antlion. Could maybe be out of camping supplies or other supplies, or just deciding to warp out since there's no exit on the team, I believe. No, unless there's he still has a Tela, doesn't he? Or no, he has a Palom, that's right.
Yeah, Rosa does not know exit yet, and wouldn't be able to cast it anyway since she's frogged and piggied, which I don't want to think about what that turns her into. So Dnarii's taken a long way out. Gaming with the Wraith gets his package, has no more business left on the moon, and we'll see what order he tackles the checks on the blue planet.
Yeah, that's going to be the really interesting part. I think you probably check that package right away, because you already know you found D-Mist, and it's either Cecil or it's not, to determine whether you keep going with that check. But then what you do afterwards is going to be interesting. Gaming with Wraith not having done top-down, do you think that's going to push him, or not done the top of the tower? Do you think that would push Gaming with Wraith to do the tower first?
It would sure push me. I think Gaming with the Wraith would want to take those two objective checks. He seems to be a runner who prizes efficiency above everything else. He's not really a meta runner. He's more focused on his game. So I think the tower would be the play, and he's going straight there.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good play. And as Gaming with Wraith needing multiple things still for go mode, needs at least 2 key items or a key item and a Cecil. Who could be locked behind that package or could be locked behind the Earth Crystal Baron key. Definitely think it is a good play here to go for key item density and checks, rather than take any swings elsewhere.
And Wraith doesn't know that Twin Harp is at the top of the tower, so Gaming with the Wraith still needs 3 key items or 2 key items on a Cecil.
Absolutely correct. Dnarii is leaving the moon, having pretty much only gotten the tower key and the package out of there, which could be just enough, but we'll have to see. But is leaving behind the Luca key, even though Dnarii does not yet know that, and still has a whole bunch of XP that could be available on the moon, but just won't be picked up quite for a while.
Yeah, and this is where you're really going to see the difference in levels between Gaming with the Wraith and Dnarii come into play, especially if there's something rude in between these last key items.
Yeah, Dnarii being a little bit closer to go mode, having already gotten the Twin Harp out of the way, finds just the Sid, so no package necessary this seed. Town of Mist, absolutely safe.
Yep, so in terms of character checks, there are 2 characters at the top of Tower of Zot. There's 1 character in Baron, and then there's the Giant.
Yeah, I think the Giant we won't see until people have eliminated all the other options, and we still need either multiple boss checks for a key item, or just know that Cecil's up there and that's going to be the faster way to go. But definitely going to be interesting here. Dnarii could pull noticeably ahead here if the tower key provides all the value, and if it is a bit of a zonk, that's going to feel real bad for Dnarii.
Yeah. Gaming with the Wraith's Edge, I don't know if you saw it, did 5,000 damage to that one Baron guard. Fun fact, Baron guards are mage types.
Yeah, Baron definitely enjoying the cross-training of people. You have Dark Knights, you've got guards who are mages. We got a Bahamut here inside the super cannon room, gonna die real fast. Probably not get to 4 even on this count.
All Bahamut wants to do is count, and you're going to take that away from him. Well, I guess it's not Bahamut's fault that that education is so poor.
But we've got an Edge here. He's doing a great job. Oh wait, education. I gotta listen to the whole words you say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, Edge has been giving a real education in this seed. Been the most valuable party member for both of our runners, I think.
Yeah, definitely with Gaming with the Wraith. Gaming has done such a great job of making use of that mute knife that was picked up early, keeping it on Edge, and absolutely finding all 3 of the mage type enemies after getting that Edge online with mute knife has been a great boon to how fast Gaming with the Wraith has gone through this seed.
Yeah, sometimes all the bosses line up for him, but Gaming with the Wraith deserves a ton of credit for realizing what he had in the mute knife and making sure his Edge was equipped with it for all of those fights. And Dnarii going to check this key item from the tower key. Gaming with the Wraith will be right behind him. Gaming with the Wraith has that Twin Harp, so already must be feeling good about that tower play, and we'll see what the cherry on top is. It's an Earth Crystal.
That's a pretty nice cherry. I don't know if we're going to see anyone loot that treasury, because we do have max tier 6 turned on for the loot here in treasure chests, which means we're not going to see any crystal swords, even though we already have them in the inventory. Not going to see any Excaliburs or Dragoon Lances or even white shirts. No tier 7 stuff, but still really good things. But at an hour 40, I don't think I'm opening any more boxes.
No, I think my thought would be if I don't have it by now, I'm just not going to have it, and I don't really need it. And Dnarii going straight up that tower.
Yeah, absolutely. With Cecil still not appearing in this party, we know he's in the seed, but we still haven't found him. Here's 2 chances at finding Cecil. Definitely a great play. Plus, you get a key item check.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only play Dnarii can make at this point.
Yeah, that's true too, except for going back to the moon. But I think you avoid doing that if at all possible once you've been up there and then retreated.
And I hate to mention this again, but still hasn't done those pan checks.
Yeah, I think Dnarii has 100% forgotten that pan. It was picked up pretty early in Fabul. Hasn't seen it in the inventory. and is, or if has, it's just assuming that I've lost this race if it's at the pan, so I'm just gonna not invest the couple minutes in doing that check.
Gaming with Wraith, meanwhile, heading down into that Luca cave before checking the package, before checking that Earth Crystal, before even checking that Twin Harp, just while he's in the neighborhood, and he knows that if it's a zonk of an item, he can just reset out.
Yeah, and Gaming with Wraith, pretty much hoping this is a Baron key to get him possibility of everything and have this be hard required at this point.
Dnarii encountering the Dark Knight Cecil in the first spot in the tower. That's a pink tail. That's huge.
That's pretty big. You have to walk this out, though, and that does mean that the Tower Key is absolutely the way to go, because Tower Key is going to gate a Baron Key also. Because Tower Key to Earth Crystal to Baron has to be the chain, I believe.
You might be right. And that's a very rude roadblock.
Yeah, I don't really like seeing Wyvern here. There's our Cecil that we can take into the party after we fight DKC. So Dnarii going to be soon accomplishing objective number 5, but we'll have to actually defeat the boss here in order to do that. But I don't foresee Dnarii having much trouble doing that.
And Dnarii should want to take that Cecil. Doesn't have as many levels invested in his characters, and there's a Fu as well. This is a really spicy decision here.
And in chat, Dr. Cossack asking if Demas has been found. Demas has indeed been found. Demas had the Darkness Crystal hiding in the Waterfall Cave. Dnarii taking both that Cecil and the Fu, getting rid of Rosa. Pretty reasonable overall. Not 100% sure I agree with it, but I'm not going to argue too strenuously against any of those choices, because Crystal Sword Cecil does a lot for you. Dnarii still needs a few levels.
Yeah, that Fusoya with the number of bosses that Dnarii has defeated should be close to or at full strength, which could be very helpful. I don't think his Rosa knew a ton of spells that Fu would be expected to know here.
Yeah, Gaming with a Wraith, so fixated on this pigtail, hasn't quite figured out that he could logically figure out that Earth Crystal is absolutely the play at this point, just because he's checked everything else. He knows that, should know that Earth Crystal has to gate both Baron Key and Legend Sword.
Yes, and the only thing that would prevent the Earth Crystal from holding everything that Gaming with the Wraith needs is the possibility that that Cecil is in Giant or behind that package.
Yeah, that's true. That would be one bit of advantage to having checked that package earlier, just so you could rule out the possibility of Cecil being behind there, and possibly take a different tack rather than not needing this pink tail. Yes, Arthur Lord, we have already seen that, but Gaming with Wraith did not check that package, so we're kind of thinking from their perspective a little bit and trying to figure out what they might be thinking about instead of completing just what we know.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll admit it when I forget who the package character was, but in that case, I was coming to it from Gaming with the Wraith's perspective. You know, I'm an idiot. Just ask anyone. But in that case, not so much. Gaming with the Wraith is through that Wyvern.
Yeah, very nice job doing that. I don't think Gaming with the Wraith was at anywhere near Wyvern's at a time, since it's only able to get one Star Veil up before the initial Mega Nuke. So a very good job of recovering that fight and now warping out with that Pingtail. Hopefully Gaming with the Wraith won't be too far behind Dnarii in terms of getting to that that Earth Crystal and getting that Cecil, because that will actually put Dnarii, Gaming with Wraith, in go mode. Won't have to do any more checks, but still has to actually turn in the Twin Harp too. So never mind.
Yeah, Gaming with the Wraith has not checked that Twin Harp. Probably would want to loop in that Twin Harp with the Earth Crystal to the Twin Harp first, because you need to the Twin Harp kind of dumps you right at Troya anyway, and then Troya dumps you right at Baron. So he'll find it really convenient, but he's a check behind.
Yeah, and in all of our talking about what Gaming with the Wraith is thinking about and what they remember or what they've done and what they might be thinking about doing next, I had totally forgotten about the fact that Gaming had not yet turned in that Twin Harp.
Dnarii finds that Rubicant in Baron Castle. And even though that Cecil has a crystal sword, still a very low level Cecil, so not quite doing Boffo numbers yet.
Yeah, and might not be back row glitched yet. That would seem pretty reasonable for that damage total, I think.
Yeah, worth having a Dwarf Axe around, since you get one in the starting kit anyway, to back row that Cecil in all this hustle and bustle might have slipped his mind.
Gaming checking that package, finding just an engineer behind it, says nope, I don't need you, and resets back out, which is quite wise.
I think it's really sad because an engineer like Sid would really be interested in the mechanics of that explosion.
It's true. Sid is definitely a connoisseur of explosions.
Not going to give him that satisfaction today.
Gaming with the Wraith picking up a ninja sword out of that dwarf castle again. It now has two of them, and now has another Excalibur.
Gaming with the Wraith has all kinds of cutlery to throw around. Also has an objective. Dnarii is through that Rubicant fight and finds a vanilla Kainatsu on the throne.
Yeah, I think this is going to go down pretty easily.
Yeah, remember all those Thor Rages that Dnarii picked up in Cave Eplin? You don't need them. Might as well sell them for scrap.
No, not when you throw a turtle in the microwave and the turtle only has 4,000 HP. You're going to dine on turtle soup very nicely, very quickly, and we get a nice crumble animation.
Yeah. It's not the preferred way to serve turtle, but it is the quickest, and that's all we cared about.
Yep. And at the seat a while, I'm sure both runners are feeling pretty darn nervous because of just how much that moon led to stuff back on Earth. You got a lot of chances to kind of get something and fade back and check. And they just spent a lot of time in the seed so far, and I bet they are watching, if they're the kind of runner to watch the Discord to see if their opponent's not done, watching very anxiously.
Yeah, Gaming with the Wraith's second objective came in at 145, which even on these flags is pretty late. So if he's there might be a little bit of worry there. Gaming with the Wraith in the cave will get a reprise of the Super Mario 3 music.
Yeah, we are aware of the technical difficulties in our stream. We will be working at getting it back up if we can. And we do ask all of our runners to always have a local recording too, so hopefully we'll be able to have all the evidence of what's going on for Dnarii as this continues, in case there's any sort of issue with Dnarii connecting to the internet or anything like that.
Yeah, hopefully it's just temporary. will be our wonderful restreamer Solaris is working feverishly behind the scenes to see what he can do.
Of course, we're just all in so much suspense about what could possibly be behind this turtle.
Yeah, we know either here or the Baron Basement has to have the Legend Sword.
Yep, absolutely. And Gaming with Wraith throwing some stones out, getting rid of all those officers and soldiers. We'll be picking up a little piece of gear here that I think wasn't terribly exciting.
It was a Leviathan summon.
Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
that's fun to sell.
Yes. If you even have time to go selling stuff.
True. Probably, hopefully not going to visit any more shops. Exit out does pick up objective number 1. Both runners are, as far as we can tell on the stream, tied up at 3 objectives apiece. But we do know that Dnarii has picked up at least one key item, is probably working on the other in case that is not a Legend Sword. But Gaming Wraith is now heading up to Zot, hopefully, and will pick up a Sissel. This should be a pretty darn close race.
Yeah, Gaming with the Wraith has a level advantage, but not by an insurmountable amount. So if Dnarii gets that Legend Sword quickly, will enter the Z fight first. Gaming with the Wraith would probably get through that Z fight more quickly, but it's going to be really, really close.
Really, really close, and will be a little bit less powerful than Dnarii is, just because of the lack of Crystal Sword Cecil. I don't imagine Gaming with Wraith picks that up after doing the grind that he's done so far. Still could very much, and still would not be an awful idea. But it'll be just interesting to see what kind of choices Gaming with Wraith makes once that Cecil does appear.
Making that hike up the tower. It's a hike that these runners have both made many, many times. After a while, your fingers just get used to where you need to go, and you let your fingers do the walking.
Yeah, it looks like Dnarii's had some technical difficulties and did have a little bit of a computer shutdown. I'm not able to say whether or not any runner has actually finished the race since they are ahead of us in time, but we won't be able to get the stream back in time for some portion of the race, so we're just going to have to sit tight here on this image.
Well, if you have to have one image to be still, at least it's a victory formation. Remind you of the good times. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you hate to see it. Hopefully, you know, we're just hoping for the best and hoping that it is temporary. But it is something that can happen.
Yep, and I know that Skalakitty is working with Dnarii in terms of making sure that everything's okay, and saying what we can do in order for anything there. So it is being worked on as much as we can.
Gaming with the Wraith finds his Cecil, finds his Fu.
Yep, Gaming with Wraith now officially in go mode. And we'll see whether there's any more grinding or if Gaming with Wraith is just going to go straight to Zeromus after this fight.
And one last decision to make. And replaces the Palom with Fu.
I think that's a good decision overall. Fu is a very able member of the party as soon as you get him. Curse-String Tell is gonna Curse-String Tell is gonna continue to be a great anchor. Fu already knows Nuke. Halm doesn't know that at this point. Really think that's the correct call there.
Yeah, very much so. There's only one real fight that matters at this point. That's the Z fight, and you're not going to do any more grinding. You can't count on the remaining bosses to get the levels that Palin needs for Nuke. Fu, you know what he has.
Yeah, and this party is definitely got significant levels. Rosa at 2400 HP is definitely Z ready. Should not go down to a Big Bang unless a very high roll off of an unnerfed Big Bang at the full power goes off. Since Big Bangs can either do 24 or 2700, depending on where you're at in the phase. So at least one of the Big Bangs is totally safe from. The other, Rosa's got enough levels in Magic to probably be safe from, but that's a Baron key. Which we do know. Dnarii did have to go into Baron in order to get what would be the Legend Sword, but that's nothing that Gaming with Wraith has to do. Gaming can just go straight into Troya, turn in that pass, and go fight Zeromus.
Yeah, so Gaming with the Wraith on his way. Don't know if he feels behind, but it's making a beeline straight for that pass door. And there's a question we usually ask around this point, Antizel.
What is a Zamboni?
I mean, we've already had our Canadian discussion for the night.
More people play hockey than just Canadians.
I know several of them. As an American who loves hockey, that was a cheap shot on my part. But there's another question. So Zeromus is always going to be here on the moon. Can't move him around, but we give him a makeover every time. And so the Z flags coming out in chat, they want to know, as do we, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
I hope it's a good one, but they're all good ones, aren't they?
They really are. There are 525 and counting Z sprites in the pool for your butt-kicking pleasure right now, and Gaming with the Wraith will encounter one of them.
Hela throws that crystal that is all important, transforming Zeromus and letting us finally see exactly which butt we're going to kick, as you mentioned, Chief Launcher. Oh, we better kick this one fast before it runs away.
Yeah, don't miss.
Well, it looks like that Silk Web didn't, so it's going to slow Zeromus down a little bit. Hopefully get it so that we're not going to miss too much more. That counter nuke goes to Edge, who will survive it just fine, because Ninja Shirts are great defensive gear.
Yeah, that nuke did less than 800 damage against Edge, which is pretty phenomenal. Going to be going with hybrid strats here. Rosa throwing out whites. Kane zerking himself up. And as for Edge, throw him if you got him.
And Pink Hat Boy in chat asking if the YouTube channel has explanations for glitches and terminology. The better place to find all that stuff is in the Discord. We do have a Guides and Resources channel, which has a great newbies guide, as well as a newbies guide to glitches. And there's a lot of terminology, and there's even a newbies corner for people to ask all sorts of questions. So I definitely encourage you to come on into the Discord and get all of the answers that you crave.
Yeah, very much so. And Antidel was saying earlier about the great community in FF4 Free Enterprise. It really shines in the Discord, where everybody is just so welcoming and really wants to see everybody have a good time and have so much fun with this game we love. So definitely join the Discord if you're not there.
Yep, and as Scythe Marshall does point out, the Free Enterprise Wiki, which is available as a link from FF4E.com, does have many of the same links and stuff as well. But in case you have specific questions that aren't covered or just aren't sure exactly about any terminology, the Discord is a fantastic place. And there are lots of videos linked to from the Discord too. I know that the Newbie's Guide to Glitches does have some videos explaining some of the tricks too. Because many of them are a little bit easier to show than they are to read.
Gaming with a Wraith well on his way. Trying to find enough MP with that foo. Does have to face down another big bang here. This one won't be nerfed. That foo goes down. Still has 2 Zerkers up for now.
Yeah, but Rosa doing a great job with that Cure 4. The Zerkers can pretty much take this home with those two and Rosa, I believe. But you could definitely, if you felt like it, want to get Foo back up. He would help in getting some more Zerks across the board and just help with healing a little bit.
Black Hole comes out, which invalidates the Zerk status, but Gaming with the Wraith has plenty of Bakwa Swines will rewind.
Yep, and as we saw, that Edge was already not berserked. He had been throwing stuff. And hey, those are rocks, so this is pretty much all over for Gaming with the Wraith, except for Zeroma's finally crumbling away.
Yep. Meteor phase means Zeroma says 12,000 HP or less. A couple more swings will do it, and there is the flash.
Indeed, that is a GG for Gaming with the Wraith. And just to catch everyone up with what has gone on behind the scenes, both runners did finish according to the race spot. However, Dnarii has had some technical difficulties in being able to have the local recording not be corrupted. We are working on it and seeing what we can do. So the entire race is under admin review. We don't have a winner to declare quite yet. And we'll see if we're able to get runners in for an interview, or if we're just going to wait for them to wait for anything official to come out once any admin review is able to be done on the footage from Dnarii. So we're kind of a little bit in a holding pattern at the moment for what's going to go on. But Chief Launcher, do you have any thoughts about that race at all, about that seed?
That was a really, really interesting seed. A slow start, a hook route that took a little bit of time to get going, but both runners really blazed through it. There was quite a bit of divergence. It was a really, really entertaining race, and we'll see what the admin review does, but it shouldn't take away from just how entertained we were for those 2 hours.
No, that was a really good race. A really well-run seed from both runners, especially given, like you said, the difficulties at the start. And just from what we were able to see on Dnarii's stream before, unfortunately, he had that issue where his computer shut down. It looked like it was going to be a very, very close finish. So definitely hope we're able to get the full footage and be able to have a winner declared based off of that rather than technical difficulty. But there's still a lot to figure out from the admin team. Scala Kitty is on it. I'm sure some other non-competing admins, if necessary, will be in on that decision too, and whatever happens. And we'll just kind of have to wait on tenterhooks for this to be resolved. Luckily, it's only Tuesday, though. There's plenty of this run to come. And I do believe that that is the last race tonight. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other races coming up tomorrow while we see if there's any word that we can have from the rest of the admin team.
Yeah, so the races for tomorrow have been announced, and it gets started with a matinee. Imperial Dragon takes on Euphoric Lemon at 11 a.m. Eastern on Free Enterprise. At 7 p.m. Eastern, also on Free Enterprise, it's Lord Bob Bree versus Plasma Kappa. And at 8 p.m. Eastern, Randomania, one of the wonderful Randomania channels, it'll be Bad Karma versus McBain. Another really good matchup there. And then finally, to cap off the night, at 9 Eastern on Free Enterprise, a Stone Dingley versus Golden Hades. A whole bunch of races with really high stakes. Should be a lot of fun having a full day of Free Enterprise.
Yeah, and it looks like we will be joined by the runners here, and I believe Gaming with Wraith has already joined us in the booth. GD's Gaming, how did you feel about that seed? I see you lit up, but I haven't heard anything from you quite yet.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sorry. How do I feel about that seed? That beginning first 5 minutes, I won't say the words that I said out loud.
I'm sure you said something like, "Oh my gosh, this is really slow."
No, that wasn't quite it, but we'll go with that. It's better.
And we are also joined by Dnarii. Welcome in, and GG's.
Thank you. I feel better if it ended a little differently.
Yeah, I know that the race is officially under admin review, so we're going to a little bit avoid talking about exactly where everyone finished until we're able to kind of have a full resolution on that. We were just talking with Gaming about the start of that seed. How did you feel about the start of it?
That was rough. I am very, very weak when it comes to that kind of a start, and then finding Ridia Mount Hops, and also learning that even though I've never messed up having my my reset button on my controller before, messing it up at the beginning of this match didn't help.
Yeah, we noticed you reset out of the Ridia after the mage summon, and I guess that wasn't intentional.
No, that wasn't intentional. I accidentally hit the button, and then I just decided to say, okay, I'm not meant to have Ridia, and just went on anyway.
That was very much like a cat who has fallen off the bed and then walks as though they had decided that that was indeed the choice they had deliberately made. So very well. Earl Dunn, we definitely did not notice at all that that was unintentional in the booth here.
Yeah, no, that one was unintentional, and so was the other reset trying to go through Hook Tower.
Now, even though the seed started a little bit slowly for both of you, the middle of the game you both kind of cruised through it without really getting objectives. At about the hour mark, what were your thought processes on only completing one or two objectives and having a whole bunch of key items still outstanding?
I know my thought was this is going to be a long and wonderful journey at that point.
Oh, I was starting to dread when I was almost done in the underground that, I am going to have to go hunt down D-Mist, aren't I? And yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, that was an interesting point in the seed where Gaming with Wraith, you had checked that D-Mist and found it and gotten that Darkness Crystal pretty early and picked up Rosa before getting on the hook. But Dnarii, you had faded that for a while. That was a place where things could have changed drastically. And I know it helped you a little bit, Gaming, with having that extra healer on your side.
Yeah, it definitely did. And just having another body that wasn't going to be Edward at that mom bomb spot, that was pretty nice.
Yeah, I was okay with Mom Bomb with the two once I had the virus and a couple of berserks going. I was feeling okay about that.
Yeah, I didn't feel too bad. I reset the first time because it just didn't go well. But I was like, I can do this. This isn't a big deal. It's just every swing just did not happen my way. So I was like, okay, whatever, cool, move on.
Well, going all the way back to the beginning of the seed, having one of the objectives being get Cecil, and starting with the Crystal Sword, were you resigned to not seeing Cecil until your very last check, or were you hoping for him earlier?
Oh, I wanted Cecil as soon as I could get him. Going to the, and it also ties with later. I hadn't seen Cecil through the moon, so I finally got there, and I'm like, okay, as soon as I get an Earth check that is a potential continuation of a link, I'm going and leaving. Because I wanted Cecil before I did anything else. I knew it could cost me time, but the moon was kicking my butt.
Yeah, that was definitely a rude moon. And one thing Chad has reminded us about, Dnarii, you had that pan pretty early from the Fabul check. Had you forgotten about it by the time you got underground?
Yeah, let's talk about my memory and how bad it is, because I didn't mark it on my tracker. Yeah.
Oof.
Uh-huh. When I finally remembered about it, I sort of said, okay, I'll just deal with it the next time I go back down to the basement. It was one of those where, all right, I played without it this long, I might as well keep going.
Yeah, we were wondering if that was, if you ever realized that if you were going to go back and do it, or if you had just decided, well, I've lost if it's there, so I'm just going to ignore it.
By the time I had finished Baron, if I hadn't found, because I was going to do Underground if I hadn't gotten the Legend Sword, if I hadn't gotten that, I was going to go back down and do it again. Wraith, did you do the pan? What'd you get from it?
I forget what first item was. Second item was garbage. One of the items was garbage. I don't remember what the other one was.
It was a Stardust Rod and a Zeus Gauntlet, so no progression.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And Shield 1 had to pass.
Yeah. I mean, the Zeus Gauntlet would have been nice, but at least the shop in at the Forge had Zeus Gauntlet, so I was able to pick up another one.
Yeah,
I found a couple on the way.
Yeah, I believe there were Zeus Gauntlets in Cave Evelyn, and there might have been another one lying around as well. That was a very nice loot seed. It was. How did you feel about all the nice equipment that was there along the way?
I was pretty happy with it, except for Edge not getting a weapon until I bought him ninja swords. I mean, Mute Knife Assassin's not great. And
Yeah.
that was kind of rough.
Although you were making mincemeat out of all of those mage type enemies on the moon with that Mute Knife.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to complain about the Mute Knife. The Assassin Knife, that's not so hot.
No. I finally ended up going, I think I actually kept a short on him after I bought a ninja sword. I only bought the one because I was low on money.
Yeah, how are you guys finding?
I ended up buying two, so.
Yeah, how are you both finding the economy so far with that escorter flag?
It really hasn't been that bad. As long as I have to be a little careful, but otherwise it's not that bad. Especially because with 100% chest, there's a good chance you're going to pick up most everything you need anyway.
Yeah, money-wise, I don't ever really feel like every once in a while you'll be like, man, I wish I had another like 10, 20K to get a couple more of something, so that maybe if I really need to redive, I don't have to do it. But money has been really good. Typically gear isn't an issue. The Edge thing this time was actually one of the first times I'd ran into it.
Yeah, Edge is notoriously expensive to outfit if you don't find the good stuff for him in chests. Well, do either of you have any other questions for each other, or Sheep Launcher, do you have any questions for the runners?
Yeah, I want to hear if either of you have any questions for each other.
Oh, so you said you hit Baron. I never actually found the Baron key. That must have been on Leviathan in the Jura spot.
No, Tower key led me to Earth, and Earth was Baron key because I picked that up and went right after.
Yeah, that Earth crystal led right to Baron key, but the Gaming with the Wraith, you had that crystal at that point, so you probably had
because of the
things on your mind.
Oh, where was the pink tail on the moon?
In the Luca cave.
Oh, it was in the Luca cave. So Moon must have had Luca key.
Yeah, Sura at Cave Value had it.
Oh yeah, I got to that fight and I just sort of noped out of it.
Yeah, my Mute Knife Edge decided she didn't have any shot in the world. It was like 5 hits, and that was that.
Well, I tried it, but she kept sniping, and at the time I went to it, my party was getting killed in one-shots. So nobody was staying up long enough to keep the damage going. So yeah, I just decided to go on in a different route, and I guess I got very lucky with that.
Well, I do want to say to both of you that it was a very entertaining and well played race you both did. I want to thank you both for being restreamed. Hopefully, we get some resolution on this, and best of luck to both of you the rest of the way. GG's.
Thank you.
Thank you,
GG,
folks.
Ray.
Hey, GG Dnarii.
Indeed, GG to you both, and thank you again for allowing us to restream you, and thank you Solaris, and also Scythe Marshall for being the back of the house for doing the restream and the tracking respectively, and Chief Launcher. It was a blast commentating with you, and I believe we are off to go see Moonblaze Wolf do some Final Fantasy XII casual playthrough.
Yeah, that should be fun. Moonblaze Wolf, of course, a valued member of this community, and we'll go over there and show them some love. So thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you, Antidale, and until next time, so long.